west of the Rockies, you're on Live with Blazing Press. All right, guys, what's going on? Blazing Press here, once again with you on YouTube. This is the new channel, guys. It's not the new channel. It's an old channel, but it's just been revamped to be utilized for wartime purposes. We're at war. Did you guys know that? We're actually, I believe we're in a time of great tribulation. Many people say, it's not happening yet. We're not in the tribulation. Well, I mean, if you really look at your Bible and you really study the prophecies of the end times, without all the, extreme license that Hollywood has taken out. And I say Hollywood, Christian Hollywood, because there's many Christians that are doing the Hollywood thing too, in their movies, when they make their movies or write their novels or their books on what the end times looks like. It may not exactly be what we think and the way we interpret, especially with the current evangelical way of thinking, which is very unscriptural in terms of their certain interpretations, I would say. Not everything. I mean, evangelicalism and Protestantism is very sound in many of their doctrines and teachings, but I'm just saying that some of the ways in which they see the future, eschatology, their eschatological view of the future is askew. It's it's gone a little astray from its classical and way it's always been viewed from going all the way back to the first century. We want to stay true to those understandings and those interpretations, but I think it's really knowing the heart of God to know where we're at, and knowing your Bible, knowing context. Going back to the original language if you have to, listening to scholars that are the old school, going back to the ancient paths, right? The Bible talks about establishing and rebuilding the ancient walls and the ancient pathways, right? The structure in the way it used to be perceived and understood. And I think it's important that we do have that view of history. It says if you look at the word history, it's his story, right? He's the one that writes the story. Jesus and God ultimately oversee the affairs of humanity and the way they unfold. And if you really view history in the correct way, you're going to see the hand of God at work. Outside of human free will and human corruption, there is still something being written that is and has been foretold, and it is all falling in place according to God's plan. There's nobody can stop God's plan, not even the devil himself, not even the Antichrist can stop the Lord God Almighty's plan, right? And so what we see unfolding right now in the world is very similar to what the Bible says would come to pass in the latter day, whether it's the technologies or it's the positioning of the nations in the Middle East and how they're all aligned and how they're all preparing for war. And the rollout of this new technology is definitely something that we've become more attuned to in the last few years. Just in the last 5 years, since COVID, this has all been rolled out in such a powerful way to confirm scriptural enigmas that many generations previous couldn't understand, but now becomes a lot more clear and makes much more sense. Things that I didn't even understand until the last 5 years. And I've studied the Bible for a long time, and especially things like prophecy. But COVID is a big end time event. If you didn't know that, it is a very big time end time event, very bigly end time event. To put it in Trumpian speech, bigly, very bigly, and so we're definitely in the last Trump period of time, the last Trump. And who knows, maybe it is the little shofar or the little horn, which is a trump, they call last shofar, the last trump, the sounding of the last trump, the awakening blast, which all the shamans all agree with Marina Abramovich's statement that Trump is to awaken the world. He is sent by the universe to awaken the world by his chaotic oversight of global affairs. Is Trump really calling the shots and really making these things blow up in everybody's face, whether it's economic collapse, global reset, and war? Is that Trump's? Well, the little horn, and I'm just saying, if you go back biblically, maybe there's a parallel here. You might want to take note of that. The little horn, when it rises up in biblical theology or eschatology, if you're studying the end times, it's called the study of the end times or the study of eschatology. The little horn rises up and knocks off 3 horns. So there's something about this little horn or this little trump that rises up, this little shofar, that begins to grow, and it has the ability to cause other kings to fall, because these horns represent kings. They represent kings and kingdoms. They are affected in a very negative way by this boastful, this little horn that speaks great boasts. And he comes speaking peace, but he brings war. And you got to look at the context there and all the other things that are going along with this, with the technologies of our day that coincide with that moment, and those technologies of tracking, tracing, tagging, and bagging you. They're really, literally, this is what they're doing. They are tracking and tracing not just externals, not just every little bit of food that's being produced and everything that can have and be tagged, because they are tagging stuff now. Everything is being tracked in this global technocracy, if you will, this techno state, this techno prison state, really, that's descending upon humanity. And it's happening really quickly because of AI as well. If you don't understand AI, this is why they think of it. It's kind of like AI is like what they call it. It's not fission. It's what is it when it replicates, when a nuclear explosion takes place? They call it it's not fission. It's when it explodes. I forget what they call it. It was right there on the tip of my tongue. Anyways, I forgot the term. Does anybody know what I'm trying to talk about? Does anybody know what I'm saying here? And anyways, that replicating, that splitting of the atom that causes I don't know. I wished I remembered the name. Anyways, it causes it to multiply very quickly, the explosive power, and it's like exponential power is now being unleashed as it begins to split. It just splits. What do they call it? Not singularity. It's not singularity. It's called it's not fusion. Fission. It's fission is a part of it, but let me look it up here really quick. Fission, they call it when a neutron slams into a larger atom, forcing it to excite, and then it splits in two smaller atoms, also known as fission products. And when each atom splits, a tremendous amount of energy is released. But they call that, gosh, why can't I think of that? Nuclear fission, da-da-da-da-da. It's a nuclear chain reaction. It's a chain reaction, but they call it something, and I know I'm missing the word. Somebody can tell me? No? Let's see who can get the prize if they know what I'm talking about. And I'm looking. I don't see it. I was going to say quantum. No, it's not. It's not quantum. But anyways, so we'll forget that for right now. There's so much to know about this stuff. But it's a nuclear chain reaction, releasing energy at a controlled rate in a nuclear reactor. We're very rapid. Okay, that's not it. But anyways, so I use that analogy for the exponential growth and increase of AI. It's literally explosive in its growth. And, if you were to take what you would say compounding growth or exponential growth, it's just like compounding interest. When you're in debt and you got interest payments that keep piling up on top of itself, and it compounds, it grows exponentially over time. So this is kind of what the AI is doing. It's growing exponentially at a rate that humans can't keep up with. There's no way to keep up with it. Actually, obviously, we don't keep up with it, but that they can't even comprehend. I don't think humans even comprehend. Oh, there are obviously people in the field understand how dangerous it is. The people that really do understand AI understand the danger, But the average person like you and I, we don't really get it. I don't think we understand the full potential of what could happen with AI. It's even more deadly and dangerous than nuclear holocaust, is what they're saying. So this technology that's been unleashed on the world is now replicating. It's now replicating at a very high amount of speed, like warp speed. And that's what the warp speed thing is all about, too. You know, if you look at the logo for warp speed, there's a logo that it's highly occultic. Let's see if I can find the logo on this. I'll show you. Yeah, Operation Warp Speed. This is the logo right here, and it's a very, very occultic symbol. You know, this all came under Trump, you know, if you didn't know. You're still wondering what this means. Let's see if I can pull it up here. So this is what the warp speed logo looks like, and I forget what they call it. The box itself represents, but that's the official logo of warp speed in relationship to COVID and its handling at that speed that was handled. And it really had nothing to do with effectiveness or safety. If you didn't know that, just look at the statistics. Nothing to do with safety or effectiveness. It had to do with technology, the rollout of technology. And I believe it was the beast technology that has been rolled out in the last 5 years. And now we're at quantum speed straight ahead. You know, we are going over the event horizon into the dark abyss of singularity. And that's exactly what Elon has said. And this is why they're such good friends, Elon and Trump. And you have to wonder who Elon is. Who is Elon? What is his job? What is his purpose? Why is he involved in so many things that are so consequential for the whole of humanity, whether it's technology or, you know, satellite? I mean, literally, they blanketed the Earth in just 4 or 5 years with satellites. That at one point in 2020, we didn't have that many satellites. You couldn't. I mean, we had satellites everywhere, but they weren't like they are now. You know, 7,000 new satellites plus have been added to our into our lower atmosphere or lower orbits, low orbit, and every inch of the planet now is covered in a satellite at every moment. I mean, it just literally looks like, I don't know if you've seen the animation, but it's truly frightening to understand what that means for their ability to track and trace and to see and to know everything in real time with AI speed. With the quantum computing that's now being developed along with 6G. Not just 5G, but 6G. And I don't even know if 5G has actually been turned on, but 5G was rolled out, and it began to be rolled out in 2020, right as COVID began. And so now they're going toward the 6G, which is going to be basically tying a nice little ribbon on and a bow on everything that is being controlled. Literally. So this is what it is. And I'm trying to think of what this symbol represents here. And I'll see if I can find out the warp speed. I think it means let's see if I can find out what and they're not going to tell you right on a Wikipedia. It's they don't want you to know the real occult meaning behind the actual box itself. Well, this is what warp speed actually, some of the definitions that people are putting out. Warp speed is a dimensionless quality, similar to the way Mach speed is used for faster than sound flight. An aircraft at Mach 1 is traveling at the speed of sound, which varies based on air density, coming about in an era of astronauts and with pilots breaking the sound barrier only a few years earlier. Warp speed evokes the same kind of idea as Mach speed, but for faster than light space flight. So warp speed is faster. It's kind of like Star Trek, when they would go, warp speed, and you would see the stars just go, they would fly by and like a light, it looked like a line because it was going so fast. That's like warp speed, right? Early Star Trek rarely said how warp speed related to actual speed, but over the years there have been some widely accepted conversions. For the original series, the common assumption is that the ship's speed is the warp factor cubed as a multiple of the speed of light. Warp 1 is light speed. Warp 2 is 8 times light speed. Warp 3 is 27 times light speed, and so on. So, like I said, it's exponential, right? For the next generation onwards, the writers devised an adjusted scale that capped at 10 as a theoretical infinite speed, with slightly higher speeds at each warp factor. And that was in the following series of Star Trek. Right. Now, Star Trek, obviously, we look at that as a, what do they call it? Fantasy, look into the future. But, a lot of the Star Trek devices back in the 60s and 70s, or was it early 70s or late 60s, when they did those series, that actually became reality. So, these devices, like for instance the ray beam, or the cell phone, or the like the little satellite phone that they had, or whatever you call it, the particle beam, or there's a lot of things that Star Trek predicted that would come that actually happened. And in the 60s, there was nothing of even a thought of that even being real. It was obviously just fantasy, but it became a reality. And so there's a whole list of things that Star Trek predicted in theory and in fantasy that actually became reality. So you should be thinking about some of this stuff as, did they know something? Was there something that was understood in the past that they knew was coming, that were the writers or developers of this? What did they really know? Even then, the ship always travels just as fast as the story needs, so the detailed numbers are really just trivia for the fans to ponder and debate, right? I always remember that Rhapsody. I think they call it Star Trek Rhapsody. So anyways, let's see if we can find out what the actual logo really meant. But anyways, I'm not going to get into the details of that right now, but let's just move on to the news. Man, I wish I could remember the name of that thing I was trying to tell you about. It's not fission. Oh well, I'll remember it later, I bet. Right after I get off the broadcast, I'll remember, and I'll be like, I can't stand when I can't remember something. Well, anyway, this whole nuclear thing about Iran now, we're on the brink of pushing the agenda, and I think maybe Trump may be maybe trying to play the part of the good cop, but really, everybody knows he's still a part of the bad cop scenario. Trying to give Iran a way out before Israel is unleashed, because they're this close right now to launching an attack on Iran, and they're preparing in every way, even their drills as of the last 24 hours, to attack Iran's nuclear facilities, and they're talking about doing it without the U.S. and doing it like sooner than later. So you have to wonder what's about to happen. Trump basically made a statement the other day that said, if you don't take the deal, then Israel's going to attack you, and we will also be involved in leading the attack. He said, leading the attack? Leading the attack. So Iran is stating that they've been going through these communications with higher level, not officially, but high level talks. And they're saying that they're not saying they were productive, but they're, cautiously optimistic, I guess you would say, in their terms. They didn't actually say it like that, but Israel has been making statements, and there is views on this Israeli response that they're very involved in the shadows of what's going on with these talks, and that they're not comfortable with the possibility that Trump supposedly might be making a nuclear deal with them. And now they're willing and pushing the idea that they're going to go attack. Okay. So I'm kind of wondering, like, is he, there's about to be either a double cross on Israel to make this deal to bring about a peace so that this can actually escalate a bigger war, or if Trump is literally going to make good on this and they don't come to the table and disarm their nuclear program, we're going to send in the troops along with Israeli aid in the attack. Because Trump did say we would be leading the attack if they didn't accept the deal. And he said that about 2 days ago. So this deal, if it's not met, is going to precipitate this. And I think the Iranians are just trying to buy some time by looking like they're going along with us, and maybe they're setting everything up, because I think that they might have something of a little surprise that they might pull out of the like a hat out of, cat out of the bag kind of thing, to at least let the world know that, hey, they have the potential to unleash a real, do they really have the nuke? Do they really have one? Because if they don't, then there's really nothing they can do. They have to submit in some way, yield to this overwhelming force and pressure that we're putting upon them, whether it's Israel and America's force, or if they've made some kind of backdoor deal with Russia and China for their aid and support in responding to what we're doing to try to neutralize that participation that America might be giving, and just hope that it's just Israel. Because if it's just Israel, then then they can use their proxies to attack Israel back. It doesn't have to necessarily be China or Russia attacking Israel. But then again, look at prophecy. What's going on with Turkey involved over there in Syria, and Russia's in there too, and they're right there on the border. Who knows if this isn't the attack that comes against Israel, led by the bear, or led by the king of the north, they say is Russia, according to prophecy, is Russia. And this coalition of states, which Turkey is a big part of, and now Turkey is controlling a lot of what's going on in Syria, along with a whole host of other nations that are all in the region, including the United States, that this could turn around and be something that begins to be initiate that war against Israel on their doorstep that is literally the last days. This is the last days wars, whether it's Psalms 83 war or is it 83 or 82? I think it's, and then the Revelation talks about these wars, as well as Ezekiel. So I'm kind of thinking that we might be seeing some things unfolding here that are pretty big right now. It's a reported deal has been reached with Russia regarding the Ukraine war, with Putin now expected to meet with Trump. Now, this is another thing, peace, peace. When they say to you, peace and peace and peace, what is it? Then sudden destruction will come upon them. like a woman in travail, and they will not escape. So there's going to be a period of time when there's going to be an excessive amount of peace talk. It's kind of similar to what happened right pre-World War II. There was a lot of negotiations and a lot of frenzied communications of treaties and peace, and Hitler was saying he was going to be at peace with Russia and blah blah blah, and then all of a sudden everything just blew up. Maybe that's kind of like what we can expect with all this flurry of negotiations that are happening right now, whether it's Ukraine or, the North Koreans are now committing more troops into Ukraine. Did you see that? That was today also posted that they're going to make good. This is what the North Koreans are saying. They're going to make good on their pact that they've made with Russia. This is their way of saying, hey, Russia is going to stand with us. If you do anything to us, you're going to have Russia right involved, because we've committed our part of the bargain by being committed to Russia in their time of need. And this pact, whether it's going to be proven to be good and hold true, Russia aiding their allies, right? North Korea, Iran, Syria. I don't know if Syria is still an ally with the new government, but you can see that they're trying to establish some kind of cohesion within this block of Russia, China, the BRICS, really, and this rival economy that is outside of the dollar's control. See, the de-dollarization is definitely a part of the reasons why we're going to war. Anytime you see these types of forces unleashed on the world economically, there's always wars that follow. And so we told everybody back in 2009, when the BRICS were formed, the BRIC nations, that this was in preparation for a global conflict. This rival economic system that had its own swift transaction type of mechanism, along with a basket of currencies, and backed by gold, oil, and not the dollar, that it was going to ultimately lead to a confrontation of Russia and China with America and its hegemony over the economy of the world. No longer are people going to be looking at the dollar as king. I saw some articles today that said, is the dollar still king? Are we still the global world reserve currency? Are we? Well, things are about to change here, guys, and I'm going to tell you what, we're about to get hit upside the head with a realization that products are going to disappear off our shelves, kind of similar to what happened in 2021 or so, right around there, right before we warned you guys what was coming, remember? And how everything disappeared, and then it became not just groceries, but everything shortage, they called it, because you couldn't get chips, you couldn't get cars, you couldn't get anything, computers, nothing. Now, what I think is coming is going to be much worse than that. And we're already starting to see the escalation of these events. And the charts of what they say is going to start to unfold, and how it's going to lead to bare shelves. And I could show you guys some of the graphs on that here in a minute. Let me see if I can go back and find those graphs really quick. Hold on one second here. Let's see if I can find these. Okay, we're on the 27th. And by the way, the Philippines too. That thing with China and the South China Sea, that's blowing up right now. And the Philippines they're preparing for war, a full-scale battle with China, because the Chinese have stated that they're going to take over those. I think it's an atoll. They're basically claiming sovereignty now over this particular region that they've built, and they're basically saying that's their base, and they're going to be able to control certain things that go on in the South China Sea, which is right there near the Philippines. Now, this is what they consider to be like an act of war, And I think America is not happy with that either. So where's that going to lead? That's another thing. Not just Taiwan, but you're talking about the Philippines. And I mean, this is like the Chinese are pushing the envelope as well, and I think they're doing it all coordinated in a coordinated way so that it overwhelms our own ability to be able to handle all of these different conflicts all around the world as they begin to happen at once. So this is something we need to be paying a close attention to. Let's look and see if I can find that graph here real quick. They're saying product shortages and empty store shelves looming with failing shipments from China. And I told you guys last night that we know people, and in one in particular that's close to us, that is a trucker. And they said that they're in the ports of Los Angeles where there is nothing, people are not finding jobs that are truckers. They're not getting the jobs that they normally would get. And they're all out of work and they're all talking about it. And they're saying it's going to get worse. In fact, some of the shipments coming in are not being picked up by these companies because of the tariffs being too expensive. It's basically going to, they're going to end up losing money if they take these shipments. So they're just left on the dock. They're not even picking them up. And you got Americans financing their grocery bills now when they go to grocery stores with credit cards. That's not good. All quiet on the western ports. All's quiet on the western ports. That almost sounds like a book or something, but I forget what all's quiet on the western front. I think that was what it was, right? Is this the calm before the trade war storm? Scheduled import volumes into the port of Los Angeles are set to begin plunging next week and could collapse by mid-month in May. This is a Zero Hedge article. I believe this is the one that shows the graphs here. Let's take a look. Let me make sure I got this up here for you. It's all these ads. It's crazy. Okay. It says, a high-ranking Chinese trade official from the Ministry of Finance was spotted at the U.S. Treasury Department headquarters in Washington, D.C. earlier today. The meeting between Chinese and U.S. officials comes on the eve of a trade war shock now ripping across the Pacific, with the port of Los Angeles set to be the first hit. High-frequency data suggests the impact will begin at some point next week and intensify with each passing week. And you can see some of the charts there. Change per week. Let's see. Change for previous week. This is April. Okay, so this is up until yesterday. There would have been an increase of 5.42%. Change from previous year was up 56%. But look at what happens in April 27th, that's today, starting today, into the early part of May. This is week 18. You're going to see a drop of 28%, a change of 10% from the previous year. And then the next week after that, which would be May 10th, May 4th through May 10th, another 9% drop from the previous week. and a 30% change from the year previous. And this is going to continue on. It says geopolitical tensions easing lending markets higher for the week, but where the effective tariff rate currently is the highest it's been in 100 years. Look at where the tariff rate is here. Wow. With globalization, the trade growth has grown substantially in the last 60 years, I think they should have said. But looking at current U.S. imports from Europe, they have hovered around 15% in recent decades. Around 15% of U.S. imports are from Europe, and this has held steady in recent decades. How much of our imports are from China? Let's see. Yeah, way up there, almost 25%. Japan has gone down. Remember, I was telling you guys back in the 80s, it was all Japanese products. We were always talking about Japan taking over. We're turning Japanese. We really think so. And now it's Chinese. The Chinese have definitely increased in their imports. World growth, trade growth has increased dramatically in the period of globalization. And this is a part of that globalizing to increase that connection and wealth. And it's really a transfer of wealth from America, because we were the ones that were bringing this wealth to the nations, right? I mean, we were just making wealth out of thin air to give to the whole world. But at a certain point, they are going to destroy that system to usher in something different. And that's where we're at now. They are literally destroying it on purpose. Some people think it's just a part of, our bad policies and corruption, which corruption is taking advantage of it, obviously, but it's more about control, and it's more about the fulfillment of a biblical plan. I believe ultimately God Most High is behind all this. And the devil, there is a real evil that we have to contend with in the world that takes advantage of human nature. Human nature is always obviously trying to take advantage and gain something temporal. And that's mostly money, right? What is the root of all? The love of money is the root of all evil, right? That's the root of all evil, is the desire to control, the desire to love power, to love influence. And where does that come from? It comes from resources. It comes from money, really. So there you go on that. Let's move back over to this screen here. Did you happen to see this? This was very interesting. Virginia Giuffre, she's the one that was the main inspiration for a lot of these women to come forward against Jeffrey Epstein and his partner there, Maxwell. And they were very high level, and I say Maxwell, I think her influence over Jeffrey Epstein was probably the brain behind what was going on there, because she and her father were very high level intelligence, Israeli intelligence, and operations that were going on, which a lot of people didn't understand, which I believe was a part of influencing and controlling governments around the world, very powerful people and interests. And they were using girls like this. Now, this girl posted something on social media because they're going through all these different cases, and she has all the, she's like the heart of the case against all these people that were involved. The blacklist, obviously, the black book of who's who and who rode on the plane and who was a part of this. is probably all being kept under wrap still. It hasn't been released as they promised. But anyway, she all of a sudden mysteriously dies of suicide. And she had made a cryptic post on social media a couple weeks ago about being very sad about her children, that she was in a hospital, that she was in some kind of strange accident. And she was very depressed about her children, not being able to see her children. And the report basically stated that it really wasn't an accident and it was just a fender bender and the police weren't really called. And she said that there was something that happened to her, one of her organs, and that she was thinking she was going to die. And you just kind of wonder, like, what really went on there? What was really going on there? Did she get suicided or did she truly commit suicide? You don't know. We don't really know, but she definitely was an integral part of this whole case against Epstein and everyone else that was involved. And now I think a lot of things are going to be covered up and probably not going to be seeing the light of day because she's gone. You can basically read all the information right here. So let's go back over to our page here. I like this little GIF here. I don't know if you can see it. It shows Trump's hair as the tariff and China as the big dragon. And China's just kind of looking at Trump making these threats. And then all of a sudden the dragon blows some fire. And poor Trump hair is now all melted. With blazing press commentator sitting amazed. This was my thumbnail. I created. I'm having fun making thumbnails lately. I think I'm going to make some nice thumbnails. Now, I'm going to try to be doing these broadcasts regularly at 6. I'm going to try to be regular, okay? This is going to be very difficult with my schedule. And if I happen to miss a day or two, please don't come down on me too hard. I do feel obligated to do both a broadcast of news as well as really what really motivates my day and it keeps me focused is the devotionals that we do on our other channel. So if you don't know all of our other channels, you might want to do a little search. I should be posting some of that here for you guys so you have all the channels. I'll be posting that on our Telegram page so you'll have all the links. You want to subscribe to each channel. So there's 3 channels. One's a news channel. It has about 30,000 subscribers. You got to subscribe directly to this channel right here that we're on. The other one is the devotional channel. If you're a person that believes the scriptures and you have faith and you're a child of God and you want to be instructed and given some great teaching and had a great fellowship and time of prayer and worship, then be a part of that channel. And that's the teal blue color channel that has about 6,000 or 7,000 subscribers. And then the review channel where I'll probably go through reviewing different products. There's a couple of products that I would like to talk about, and who knows what that might turn into. That has a 17,000 subscriber base, and while you're at it, you can just kind of look at some of the things that we offer in the description as well. So we're trying to get people to get the stuff that if they're really looking at and interested in getting, like for instance, if you want anything that has to do with lithium batteries, you might want to do it now before these tariffs bite in and everything goes up in price. I would say you're probably at the very end of prices being normal in the stores as well as products even being available. So if you've ever wanted a solar generator, you better get it now because I think the door's about to shut, at least in the price range that you're comfortable with, and it might go up 1,000 or 2,000 per large unit. So we have a special going on right now. I don't know how long it's going to last, but I think that things are going to change very quickly. If you've ever thought about getting a solar generator, this is the last call for solar generators. You better get one now. And if you have one that you're interested in, an EcoFlow brand, let me know. I can get you a discount on it and probably get you the best price that you can find. If you have a better price that you can get, let me know, and I'll see if I can beat it, okay? And whatever it is that you want, let me know, whether it's a Delta Pro 3 or regular Delta Pro, or they're bigger units. You should do it before these tariffs really start to affect our ports and our supply, because I think that's when everything starts. So they're saying people are running to the stores and buying stuff that they normally get from China now, and they're stocking up on things. So if you haven't been seeing that, that's coming. That's happening right now. Okay. So what's coming is what we've told you is coming. We've been trying to warn you about this for the last 2 months, that this was coming, and here we are, and now it's here. Okay. Just so you know, just like we warned you when masks were just going to disappear. I gave you about a month or so heads up, and people were not thinking it was real and thought I was making things up. And then when it happened, everybody was in shock, right? And then it affected your cleaning supplies, and then it affected your basic food that you could find on the shelves. It was gone. And then everybody panicked, and then it started affecting everything else because of the supply chain bottlenecks. Okay, what I'm saying now is coming. I think it's going to be much worse. Okay, and then the cover for this, and Trump, obviously his ego is going to be covered by all-out chaos. There's going to be chaos all over. So it's not going to bother, him, because he's going to be just trying to supposedly fix everything that Biden has done or that the previous administration has done, right? We all know that it's a uniparty anyway, and it's a global kind of plan that's unfolding. This is all part of a plan. This isn't something that just popped out of nowhere, because we told you that this scenario was going to come 4 years ago, exactly as it's been unfolding. So it's not like it's surprising me. But some of you out there may have thought, well, maybe you didn't listen closely to what I was saying, but I had told you how it would unfold with Trump and everything that was coming. And I told you he would miraculously come back from his political and judicial mortal head wound. He would come back from the dead like a phoenix rising out of the ashes, or like a resurrection of sorts. And he would come back as the comeback kid, right at the last moment. And then not only would he not be the same president that he was previous, but he would be a president that would be bringing about great controls, because he opened the door for the whole COVID thing, and he facilitated that, right? Remember? People that were supporting Trump said, well, he did it because the Democrats are stupid and they'll take it and they'll end up dying, and he doesn't really know because he doesn't get advised very well, and everybody's against him, and that. But that was part of the beginning. That's the way they ushered in this utopia that they planned for everybody to believe that he's going to bring, because he comes in as a lamb, but he then comes back as something much worse. Okay, he goes in as a lamb, and then he comes back something much worse. So this is what we expected, and this is exactly where we're at. Now, the technologies that have come since then all point to the facts that it includes Elon, who he is, and possibly really very clearly of where and Trump is taking us and who he is, and what this means for humanity, not just America, but the whole of the world. Okay, the whole of the world is being affected by this in a very huge way. And some would say, well, that's good. If we're causing the whole world to sweat, then maybe that means we're in control. We're just going to keep pushing our brand. Our almighty dollar is still going to be, it may be a Bitcoin now, but it may not be our fiat currency, but it'll surely be a Bitcoin, and we'll be the richest planet on the earth. Again, in control. Okay, well, I guess we'll figure that out once that starts happening, right? So this is the current news today. Israel has apparently taken the decision to destroy Iran's nuclear program. Why? Netanyahu has stated today, Israel will destroy Iran's nuclear reactors and enrichment facilities. This was today. Amid tensions with Iran, the IDF Home Front Command held an exercise Sunday involving all hospitals to test readiness for a major war. Iran has stated today that they are not very optimistic on success of nuclear talks with the U.S. Now, it's just supposedly U.S. and Iran. And Trump made a statement yesterday or day before that he would, if they didn't succeed, these talks, that we would be at the forefront of an attack on them. So here we are. Get ready. Get ready, because we're about to see some fireworks here in just a short time. I hope you're all ready. Fireworks are about to go off. I know we've been prepping everybody and getting everybody ready for this, but this is the moment. I think we're at the door of seeing these things go off. And I've put a lot of stuff aside that I should be, I want to be, I shouldn't say should. I want to do what God wants me to do, but I need to focus on making sure that I'm telling people what's really happening, spending the time that it takes to get that message across so everybody understands. And I hope you understand we need your support. Get behind what we're doing. Hit some of the links below. Become a part of our community. And regularly, we need some regular supporters, definitely regular supporters. And be a part of our Telegram, because that's where we post a lot of stuff too. We let you know a lot of things right there in real time, a lot of breaking updates. And like I said, I'll try to be very regular on the broadcasts. If I can try to be here at 6, I'm going to say 6. And if I can do it where it is regularly cut out of my schedule, because I can't even begin to tell you what I have to do every day, I will start making banners and making sure that it is something that everybody knows is a regular moment where we do our nightly broadcast, okay? And with the morning devotional, I will try to do the same there. And it's very, like I said, I like to keep things a little open and a little fluid so that I have a little wiggle room so I don't get caught into a, so like I said, it may not be every day at this time, but it's going to be hopefully at that time regularly, at least 3 or 4 times a week. But maybe it'll be every day. I'll get so enthused by what you guys are, contributing and how everybody's a part of this message going out that we will be every day. I got to make sure we keep it I feel like I like that guy who's doing he's doing I've been watching kind of some of the old Ed Sullivan show on reruns. You know how they always had like these acrobats and people, they would always have these little acts come in. There's a guy that spins like plates on a stick, and he's got like 10 plates going, and he's got them all spinning. He's spinning everyone, and he's running around spinning all these plates. That's what I feel like. I feel like I got like 10 plates, and I got plates here. They're all spinning, and I'm having to keep them all spinning. So I need your help to help keep that spinning going. I'm going in 10 different directions at once, but it's working at this point. One of these days, maybe they're all going to just fall at the same time. But I was amazed that this guy was able to keep all 10 of those plates spinning. Let me see if I can show you who I'm talking about. You know what? I can probably find the one that let's see. That's why I love YouTube, because I can illustrate what I'm talking about here. Ed Sullivan plate spinning. Let's see if I can find that one I was looking at. Yeah, that's the dude. Look at this dude. I was watching this the other day, and I was like so amazed at this. This is what I feel like. This is the way I feel like sometimes. Look at this. Look at this guy. Check this guy out. Tell me this is like... I did it. All right, guys. God bless. I will talk to you guys soon. You guys have a great night, and the Lord bless you, and I will be back real soon. If something big goes down, we will always be here breaking it down in live stream moments, and we'll let you know all that through our Telegram channel or other channels like Patreon or whatever to alert you when we go live if it's a big event, and we'll be covering it right here live on YouTube. All right, God bless, and we'll talk to you soon. In Jesus' name.